I'm Elizabeth at A Literary Princess. If you are new here, welcome. I am a 6-year PhD candidate in English literature with a focus on Victorian women novelists. And as you might expect, I love to read. Today I have a book haul for you. Yes, it is not even the end of February yet, and I have already acquired a lot. To be fair, a lot of them were free. Up until yesterday, I went to the bookstore with my mother, but even then those were super discounted because I brought a bunch of books to get rid of. So I had $76 in credit. But yeah, my husband's gonna have a fit when he gets home, but that's fine. He's out ice fishing. So, you know, when the cat's away, the mice will play, as they say, and I have certainly played. So, we will start with the one that I got at the beginning of January, and we will go until the most recent ones that I got. Let's jump in. So the first book that I bought this year was actually a coffee table book, which I don't usually buy. This is Sense of Place, Design Inspired by Where We Live, by Caitlin Fleming and Julie Goebel. I got this at Crate and Barrel. I was meeting two friends there and to drive into the city, and Crate and Barrel was a convenient spot to meet. I got there early and we went shopping. It's fine. But I really like a lot of the like just design choices in this book, and I am hopefully going to eventually soon have my own house and would love to have some inspiration for decorating it. Also, I thought it would be helpful for building houses in The Sims, I'm not gonna lie. So, but it's really pretty and I like it a lot, so. Next up, we have quite a few ones that I got for free. And the first of these I got from this graduate writing retreat that my university holds during the winter break. So for a week, I went in and they gave us space to write. There were seminars if we wanted to go to them, and they had a table full of free books on writing. So naturally, I picked a few up. So this first one is Voice Lessons on Becoming a Woman Writer by Nancy Mears. I am not familiar with Mears at all, but this sounded like something that I would like, so I grabbed it. And then we've got two by an author I'm very familiar with. I've actually read both of these. This is On Becoming a Novelist by John Gardner. I read this back in undergrad for a independent study I did with a creative writing professor where I wrote a novel. So I'm excited to reread this at some point because I really liked it. And this other one is also by John Gardner. This is The Art of Fiction, Notes on Craft for Young Writers, which I read for my creative writing workshop in undergrad that was taught by the same professor that I did the independent study with. She was a John Gardner fan. So I'm excited to revisit this one as well. Next ones were also free. These are from my department offices. They have a bookshelf where you can bring books you don't want anymore and leave them, and then other people can take them. We have a lot of professors retiring this year, so they are bringing in quite a few books. And some of those are definitely from these professors because I encountered one of them bringing the books. Some of these others, I don't know if they're students dropping them off or what, but they looked good. So this first one is Stay With Me by, I'm probably gonna mispronounce this, Ayobami Adebayo, who is a Nigerian writer. And this just sounded really good. It's about a woman who is married and they agreed that polygamy was not for them, and then all of a sudden she's introduced to his second wife and it throws her for a loop. Understandably so. So this just sounded really interesting and outside of what I usually read, so I wanted to grab it. Next one is a 19th century American classic. This is Our N by Harriet Wilson. I'm obviously not saying that word for reasons, even though it's a shortened version of the word. I actually heard a really fantastic scholar of African American literature talk about this book and how she used to just say the full title of it, but her and her students came to realize, why is it okay to say a shortened version of this word? So she just refers to it as RN, and I think that's a really good way of referring to it. So this was the first novel by an African American woman published in the United States. 1850s, I think. So the subtitle is Sketches from the Life of a Free Black. I've wanted to read this for a while because I heard about it in the class that I took with the professor who was giving this away, actually. I just dropped things. That's wonderful. But yeah, so I literally saw her bringing this in. I was like, I will take that. She's like, oh yeah, there's a newer edition that I have. So this is the older edition. I'm like, that's fine. The text is the same. It's just like different introductions and notes and stuff. So I don't know when I'll get to this, but I definitely will. Some more contemporary fiction. This is Human Acts by Han Kang. I haven't read Kang before, but I have heard a lot about The Vegetarian. And I haven't really heard that much about this one, but I figured I'd grab it since this is an author I wanted to read. And then back to another one from that same professor. This is Quicksand by Nella Larson. I read Passing last year, toward the end of last year, and loved it. So when I saw this, I grabbed it because I wanna read her other book. And then last from this grouping is some Victorian literature, and it is this adorable edition of The Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens. It's so cute. It's a modern library book. It's complete and unabridged. And it's just, I don't know, it's so cute. I love it. And the dust jacket's kind of a mess, but the book itself is in pretty good condition. And look at the pretty spine. This costs $2.45 in whatever year it's from. Imagine that, getting a hardcover book for $2.45. But yeah, no, it was just so cute, I couldn't leave it behind. And now we get to the ones that I bought yesterday at the used book superstore. Now, to be fair, if it weren't for this first book that I'm about to show you, I would have gotten all of these for free with my store credit. So, just saying. But this one was brand new and was like $30 or some odd. Oh God, I took the sticker off because even then it was half price from what it originally was, which was $45. But this is the collector's edition of The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. So I have read Babel and Yellowface by Kuang. This is her debut novel. It is the first in a trilogy, and this collector's issue just came out, and it's gorgeous. Look at the sprayed edges, and I haven't even taken the dust jacket off. Oh, it's so pretty. And it's got pretty end papers. So yeah, I needed it. And I've been wanting to read this for a while. But so this is the book that made it so that I did have to pay actual money. Still only $17, which is pretty good because I had so much store credit. Because I got rid of a lot of books. But yeah, it's so gorgeous. I'm excited. Then we have some nonfiction that I picked up, and the first of these is Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. So this is the biography that famously inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda to create the musical Hamilton, which I adore, probably my second favorite musical ever, and probably technically the best musical that I've listened to. So I don't know, I just wanted to read it. I'm like, if it was so good that it inspired an amazing musical like that, this must be really good. Also, Hamilton had a very interesting life, and I don't know a lot about American anything. I mean, like, I know basics of American history that we're all taught in high school and elementary school and whatnot, but I've never, like, really dived deep into any of the founding fathers. So I'm definitely curious, and I figured this would be a good place to start since I do love the musical. And then a historical figure I'm much more familiar with. This is The Real Jane Austen, A Life in Small Things by Paula Byrne. I was so excited to see this because I have heard so many people here on BookTube praise Paula Byrne's books on Jane Austen. So I'm excited for this. Probably not this year because I'm planning on reading Jane Austen at home for Jane Austen July, but maybe next year. And then I got one work of just general fiction, and it's actually one that I read before, but by an author who I now consider a favorite author. And this is The Wife by Meg Wolitzer. I read this on audiobook a few years ago and really enjoyed it because I enjoy all of her works. And so I figured I would grab it since there was a copy, and I do want to reread it. And now we get into the big stuff. The classics. So we're going to start with the Oxford classics, and we're going to go, we'll go from not Victorian to Victorian, and we'll do the same thing with the penguins in a minute. There's a lot of penguins. Look, I see a good Oxford or a good penguin. I am loath to leave it behind. So the first one is A Sicilian Romance by Anne Radcliffe. So I've only read The Mysteries of Udolpho, but I am reading The Italian later this year for my 18th century novel project. And I like Anne Radcliffe, and it's a nice short one, and it was in good shape, so I grabbed it. We then have another nice little short one. This is Flush by Virginia Woolf, which I have been wanting to read forever because it is told from the point of view of Elizabeth Barrett Browning's Cocker Spaniel. And I'm obsessed, okay? You probably know I love dogs. Spaniels are some of my absolute favorite dogs. And so the fact that it's about a Victorian woman writer, written by Virginia Woolf, and told from the point of view of a dog, and not just any dog, but one of my favorite breeds of dogs. I'm like, this is my book. I just haven't found a copy of it, like, in real life yet. And so when I saw this nice Oxford, I was like, ooh, that's mine now. Thank you. Now some Victorian literature. First up, we have The Odd Woman by George Gissing. I read New Grub Street last year and really loved it, and this is the next one I wanted to read by him, so I grabbed it. This is a new woman novel, and I'm excited to pick it up. And then finally, for the Oxfords, we have Orley Farm by Anthony Trollope. They had so much Anthony Trollope, I was like really excited. This is not the only Anthony Trollope book I bought either. But I don't know much about this one. I do know that Kate Howe just read it and didn't really like it that much, but it's in the lovely Oxford and I want to give it a go, so I grabbed it. It's a chunky one. All right, and the penguins. And same thing, we're gonna do the two that aren't Victorian, and then we'll talk about the Victorian ones. So the first of these is Dubliners by James Joyce. So I have read The Dead, which is kind of like the most famous short story in this collection. But other than that, I haven't read much by James Joyce other than a few excerpts of Ulysses, which I gave to my students and they were like, ma'am, what is this? I'm like, yeah, right? But I feel like I should read more Joyce. I feel like I really should read more modernist works in general. I also have a friend who adores James Joyce and is always like, you should read him. So I'm like, okay, I'll get Dubliners because that's definitely the most accessible one of his works. And we'll see how it goes from there. And then hopping over to America for a moment, we have The Awakening and Selected Stories by Kate Chopin. So I read The Awakening in high school and despised it. But I've had multiple people tell me, Elizabeth, this is a book you'll really like if you revisit it as an adult in the place where you are now. I'm like, okay, fine. So I grabbed it because it's a nice Penguin copy, and there's a few other short stories in here that I'm not really familiar with because I don't do American literature. Like, my American literature is super limited to what I read in high school and what I read in undergrad. And then my 19th century lit class here at my current university. And then like 21st century stuff I've read a fair amount of. But my classics, I know, are kind of lacking, and I need to like get better at that. And now the Victorians. And first up, we have another Anthony Trollope. This is Framley Parsonage. It is the 4th book in the Chronicles of Barsetshire, and I have the first 2. And honestly, I went in like hoping, I was like, maybe they'll have Dr. Thorne in a Penguin classic, because that's what I've been thinking about that. I'm like, I do this year want to buy Dr. Thorne because I am planning to read both The Warden and Barchester Towers this year, and then I want to continue the series. Well, they didn't have Dr. Thorne, but they had Framley Parsonage, so I grabbed it. You know, I know I'm gonna read it, so it's fine. And then we have a book that I actually already own a copy of, but I hate my copy. And this is Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. So I feel like I've complained about my copy of this book quite a few times because let me get it for you. I hate it. First of all, it's like a stupid size. It's an utterly stupid size. I just don't like the cover itself. And I hate this quote from The Guardian: Wives and Daughters has plot, intrigue, and romance. It has plot? Really? That's what you figure out to say about it? So yeah, now I have a Penguin copy, and I can get rid of that copy I don't like. It is super annotated. However, I would rather have an annotated Penguin copy than that copy I have right now, because it doesn't fit well in my hand. I don't like the cover. I don't like that dumb quote. And I like penguins are floppy, and like I like the floppy. So yeah, I do want to reread this. I read it in 2021, maybe. So I'm due for a reread on it. I have a bunch all by one author, and that author is Charles Dickens. So first up, we've got Martin Chuzzlewit. I know nothing about this book. I must have watched Katie's video on it, but I can't really remember what she said. I feel like this is one she's not, like, it's not one of her favorites. It's not one I hear talked about that much in general. But they had a Penguin edition, and so I grabbed it. They had so many Charles Dickens books and so many Penguin editions. They had one of the Pickwick Papers, and I was like, I just got a copy of that. And they had one of Bleak House, but I've got a really nice Oxford of Bleak House, so I did not feel the need to grab that. But yeah, I need to continue and finish reading Charles Dickens' complete works. I feel like I have seriously slacked on my Charles Dickens, considering I'm a Victorianist. And oh my God, so when I'm putting all these in my cart, my mom, who came with me, is like, now are you sure you want all those by him? He's so wordy. Like Mom, my degree, this is my degree. I literally write about overproduction in Victorian women's novels, but I talk about Dickens quite a bit because obviously he's a prime example of a Victorian male author that wrote quite a lot. I'm like, Mom, my degree is in Victorian literature. What do you mean he's so wordy? I do this every day of my life. And she was like, oh, well, I know, but I'm like, such a weird reaction, but okay. I love you, Mom, if you're watching this. I just thought that was super funny. But yeah, no clue what this is about. We then have Nicholas Nickleby. These are ginormous. I don't know what this is about either. A guy named Nicholas Nickleby. Oh, and his uncle like won't help him. I remember Katie talking about this one. I watched this video. This is why I don't mind watching videos that have spoilers in them, because half the time I forget. I'm like, either I'm like, I don't really care, or I just straight forget. but it's an interesting cover picture. And then we have Dombey and Son, which I'm especially excited to read after reading The Doctor's Wife by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, because the main character in that, Isabel, really loves Dombey and Son and is always talking about how she wants to be like Edith Dombey, who is apparently a fairly tragic character from my understanding of the book. So I'm really excited to read this one. Another huge, oh, it's so floppy. Oh my God, I love penguins so much. And then finally, we have Little Dorrit, which I was hoping to read next year, but I don't know, I might not be able to wait. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You're also gonna see in my March TBR that I'm filming also today. I'm doing a new way of doing TBRs, so it could come up earlier than I expect it to. But yeah, I'm very excited for this one. I've heard amazing things about it. All right, so those are technically all the new acquisitions I have, but I do have one more that I want to talk about that I had unhauled 2 years ago, but it's been sitting at my parents' house and I decided that I wanted it back. My husband's gonna kill me. This is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. This is a beautiful 75th anniversary edition. And I unhauled it because I was like, I'm never gonna read this. I didn't like the movie. I didn't even make it halfway through the movie. I think that was more to do with the movie itself than the plot, though, to be honest. But I mean, it's giant. I don't do American literature. However, I've heard a lot of people talking about this since, and I just feel, I'm like, I need to read this. Who am I kidding? I need to read it at some point. Maybe not any point soon, but at some point. Also, it's so pretty and I like it. It's just really pretty. I like pretty things. I mean, look at it. It's gorgeous. So yeah, I took this back and am apparently eating my words that I said 2 years ago. Ironically, in that same book haul, I also unhauled a copy of Gulliver's Travels, which I am now going to be reading in March, and had to buy a new copy of. I was like, I'm just not interested in it. I don't like that time period, and now I'm doing a whole project on that time period. So, eating my words from 2 years ago, it just goes to show you how much 2 years can change you as a person and as a reader. So that is my January and February book haul, and hopefully I will not be hauling as many books for the next few months because I don't think my husband would stand for it. But his grandfather's building us another bookshelf. So I'm like, but I'm gonna have more space. I will use anything as an excuse. I'm terrible. So let me know down in the comments below, have you read any of these? What did you think? What is the most recent book that you purchased or were given or picked up randomly for free? If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my bookish content. It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.